Cheers. Okay, so finally, I can get to reviewing the LG C4 OLED. I've actually had this since June, tucked away. Because honestly, up until like a week ago, I've been in insane dad mode. Not to mention, I'm actually still doing some night courses, so I really haven't had the time to actually get around to reviewing this TV. And so I'm super pumped now that I've sort of started carving out some time for myself to actually game in the evenings, sort of taking a step back a little bit from my work a bit more and just finding time to actually game. With that, between the late nights, early mornings, and really just talking more about gaming than actually gaming, I've been really pumped to review this TV. Now, you probably heard of the LG C whatever number in the series of OLED TVs, and you might know this is considered probably one of the best OLED TVs for just about any setup, whether that's going to be your living room, your bedroom, game room, or even a desk setup just like myself. Now, this isn't their flagship TV lineup either, because that would be their G series, but I think this is actually the most popular one, which you'll probably see why. But for me, in my case at least, I'm using the 42-inch model, which I'll be using in my desk setup for the next little bit, which again, I've been totally pumped to try out. Now, wait, there's a huge reflection in my glasses. I look like one of those evil anime characters. Anyway, so I've got this whole thing set up in my desk setup. Now, this is a TV, so I'm obviously gonna touch on all the things that make it an incredible TV. Plus, there are some differences between the smaller 42-inch model like this compared to the larger versions, which I'm gonna touch on those as well. But the main reason this actually makes it as a monitor setup though, is the fact that it does come in a 42-inch model. If I recall, only Sony and LG seem to make 42-inch versions, especially in their OLED lineup. So that's really what makes this special in any sort of desk setup, because it does a damn good job. For reference, I was using LG's 32-inch 4K OLED as my daily driver, which is an absolutely incredible monitor, but I did want to check this one out because, again, look at the size of this thing and it's absolutely badass. So there are two things that I do want to mention that are different from the larger versions. The first thing is that the 48-inch model and the 42-inch model, those come with two little feet instead of the center mounted stand. Not that that really changes anything at all, but the main one a lot of people don't seem to like, which again, I don't really find that big a deal, is that the 42 and 48-inch models simply don't get as bright as the larger ones. I'm sure that probably comes down to some sort of engineering, heat dissipation, or something of the sort. This gets plenty bright enough for me, but I also have the complete ability to control all my lighting down here in my basement. That said, I don't really think much people will really care about that. Not that I personally test those things anyways. I'm one of those normies who's just absolutely shitty at video games anyways, so I don't go out of my way to measure those, and honestly, I don't think I'll have anything to complain about using this one. So with that, I can't say this is a biased review. I don't even really think it's going to be a good review, but this is definitely my review. What that means from a review standpoint, what I'm looking for particularly is just the user experience, and if it does a good job as a monitor as well as being a TV. Now, as for the setup specifically, I've got this set up on my Grove made shelf. Is it too high? I don't know, maybe I'll find out eventually, but right now, honestly, it's been fine. I've been using it for a couple days for work and gaming, and I haven't had any sort of issues. In terms of ports, this TV, I almost called it a monitor because it's that sweet. In terms of ports, this TV has 4 HDMI 2.1s. You have optical out if you do want that for any sort of sound systems. And unique to the 42 and 48-inch models is that you actually get an audio jack, which is pretty sweet. My Cantos are only hooked up to my record player right now, so I don't know if I can use it as, a speaker setup. I will mention the speakers on this TV are incredible, which I'll get to. But regarding those 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, that is the absolute best thing that I love about this TV, because for me, I have my PlayStation 5, which is my go-to gaming system right now. And then I also have, let me just close this. I also have a Thunderbolt 4 dock, which also uses HDMI 2.1. And I usually hook up either my work laptop or my MacBook for any sort of editing or professional work for my day job, because I'm an accountant during the day job. And beyond that, of course, I have my PC down here. Again, I'm lackluster on the cable management, which I'll get to. But my gaming PC, that's an RTX 4090 rig. And that also goes through HDMI 2.1, and that gives me the full 144 hertz that you get on this TV. So yeah, incredible TV when it comes down to ports, but I do also want to talk about the actual image on here, which is incredible for what it is, as well as some gaming. So yeah, that is the setup. I'm gonna do some gaming this evening with the boys for the first time in literally 12 months. We're gonna hop on Fortnite no build. I haven't done that in a long time. And apart from that, I'm gonna jump into my PlayStation 5 because I'm gonna be playing some X-Defiant and Call of Duty and some of those RPGs I love, like Ghost of Tsushima, God of War Ragnarok. And again, this TV just looks so flippin' good. Kicking the shit out of this guy. Jesus Christ, everything's different now. I'm okay with this. It's been a while since I played this game. Clipped! Clipped! Probably a bot though. How do I get the fuck out of this thing? E. Oh my god. Okay, so while my Hogwarts Legacy is downloading, I want to actually talk about the specs of this TV or monitor or whatever you want to call it, just so you know why it's considered badass and why it's so popular in desk setups. And for me in that case, it actually probably starts with the fact that this is an OLED panel. Now, if you're unfamiliar with OLED, what makes that so special is the fact that each individual pixel can turn off and on. With that, whenever you have an image on the screen, when you have real blacks next to these popping saturated colors, everything just looks incredible. Your image pretty much has a near infinite contrast between light and dark scenes. The colors and saturation is nearly unmatched. And when you pair this with the max refresh rate of 144 nits, if you're on PC at least, it's an incredible experience all around, plain and simple for any sort of monitor or TV. For me at least, this is the perfect storm when it comes down to gaming, media, cinema, whatever else you name it, and even a crap ton of productivity, which I'm gonna get to. Now, one of the standout features I wanna talk about when it comes down to this display is the fact that it has a glossy finish. Now, personally, again, a lot of people are up in arms about this online, on Reddit. I think it's just a bunch of bullshit neckbeards who can't seem to like a good image regardless, but I don't care between glossy or a matte finish on any sort of display, as long as it looks good. And this, again, looks incredible. With a glossy display though, not everything's perfect. Yeah, you will definitely have some reflections depending on your space. For me, at least in my basement, I can fully control all the lighting down here, apart from this tiny window back here. You can't really see it that well, but apart from that tiny window, I can control all the lighting down here, which is again the perfect scenario for an OLED display that's glossy like this. Keep in mind as well, the 42 and 48 inch models don't even get as bright as the 55 models and up, so those are even gonna fare even better, so keep that in mind. For any sort of content though, I can't stress it enough, every single thing I've thrown at this TV just looks absolutely incredible. And if this is going to be your first OLED experience, you really will not be disappointed. In my case, I'm sort of looking for something to complain about, and that's pretty hard to find when it comes down to tech. Recently, I've been enjoying a lot of House of Dragons. Roast me if you want, I actually think it's kind of mid compared to Game of Thrones. Otherwise, I've been really into watching anime since I've only just started watching within the last year and a half or so. If you have any good anime suggestions, really truly let me know, because I just finished One Punch Man, and I might be blasphemous for saying this, but that might be better than Dragon Ball Z. But yeah, suggestions, please let me know. Apart from that though, of course, this display does support HDR with popular profiles like HDR10, HLG, and Dolby Vision. And one of the things I wasn't quite expecting is using this on my Windows PC for either work or gaming. I wasn't expecting the HDR profile on my Windows PC to actually look as good as it does on here. So again, kudos to LG for whatever HDR magic they have going on here, because it actually looks good. When it comes down to PC HDR, I'm either super dumb and can't figure out, or most monitors just can't handle it well. Either way, again, just plugging and playing and putting this on HDR mode on my PC, it definitely handles it perfectly well. And yeah, sure, while I'm no cinephile or media overlord, I can still appreciate how these HDR profiles look. Color profiles absolutely pop on here, and again, the blacks are literal black due to this OLED display, so there's not much more I could really want. If you really are trying to hone this display into your personal preferences, there are some profiles you can mess around here. I personally never care to do that, but you can if you want to. Now, as a gamer, the whole reason I even know about the C series for the LG OLED lineups, again, before that I was just using monitors and just, regular old 4K TVs. But the reason I even found out about that setup in the first place was the new PlayStation 5, well, I guess they're not new now, but the PlayStation 5 and Series X, when they first came out, when I got those, I just wanted the best possible out-of-box experience to really enjoy those systems. And again, when I searched online at the time, that came out to be the C series from LG. And again, while the PS5 and Series X aren't so new now, as somebody who has less and less time to really commit to competitive PC gaming, these two consoles have been an absolute lifeline for me. With that, man, is the console gaming experience good now. And look, I'm a PC gamer as well, so I can hear you neckbeards in the comment section already. I know that consoles upscale and it's not native 4K. I really truly do not care because it still looks good. Upscaled, downscaled, whatever scaled, native, on not native, blah, blah, blah. Again, it just looks good, especially on a TV like this. Since this TV is loaded with HDMI 2.1 though, you are still getting all those features you would typically get on PC, like variable refresh rate, a low latency mode, as well as a wildly low 1 millisecond response time, which is pretty much all you need when it really comes down to competitive gaming, if you do want to hop that way. From a competitive gaming standpoint, I've actually recently been enjoying Call of Duty quite a bit more than I normally do. I don't know if they did like a balancing patch or something, but COD has actually been enjoyable for me, and I'm somehow clapping cheeks. And again, as a senior citizen when it comes down to gaming, I don't really know what a battle pass is or how it works. I just use the weapons they let me use, and I just roll with it, and I seem to do okay. Needless to say, I am roasting these 12-year-olds for once, and it feels incredible. Still, with VRR on this TV, there's zero skipped frames, graphical issues, or any sort of artifacting while gaming, and it's as smooth as I could ever want it to be. Pair that with auto low latency mode, again, everything here is near instant. Not to mention, LG simply has one of the best gaming UIs for any TV, which has your current variable refresh rate, all the different gaming profiles you might want to swap between, and all the other gaming features if you do need them. Now, personally, I use a Pro PlayStation 5 controller, again, Pro, whatever that means, but I use a PlayStation 5 controller. Let me just get it actually. I use a PlayStation 5 controller that has mouse click buttons. I don't even know if you can hear that, but does this make a difference? Is this why I'm better? I don't know, but it is an incredible way to play your games. So yeah, definitely get yourself a Pro PlayStation 5 controller if you're a senior citizen like me. You might just clap some cheeks. But yeah, even separate from all that, all the other cinematic titles you might want to play, like Ghost of Tsushima, again, Hogwarts Legacy that I just booted up behind me, as well as like God of War, those titles look absolutely incredible, especially with HDR. I'm not sure if it's the consoles or something, but again, I mentioned the PC looks awesome when it comes down to HDR, but I find for some reason the consoles do an even better job. Overall, when it comes down to consoles, I just appreciate the set and forget experience, and it does a damn good job. Now, having spent some time playing PC games on this TV last night, I can mention that it is slightly marginally better than the previous ones, the C2 and the C3. I can't say by a huge jump, honestly, but that extra 24 hertz going from 120 hertz over to 144 hertz sort of makes this a pretty decent option when it comes down to PC gaming. And honestly, I can't say it's the biggest jump ever. Chances are not many people will even notice that if playing 120 hertz all the way up to 144 hertz. But having played some Overwatch 2 last night, I can say that it was actually pleasantly decent. Actually, more than decent. It was better than I thought it would be. I just thought because it was super big at 42 inches that you'd be totally at a massive disadvantage. Now, are you going to be pushing massive competitive games on a 42-inch TV? I don't know, probably not. Maybe it depends on who you are and how far back you're sitting. My desk that I'm using here is about 30 inches, which is about 3 inches deeper than a lot of other desks. 3 inches doesn't sound like a lot, but it is, right? 3 inches? Locking a solid 144 hertz in Overwatch is just one of those things where, again, it's great to have it, but not so huge coming from 120 hertz. Either way, it was pleasantly a surprise, and that is definitely a good thing when it comes down to using a TV as a monitor. Again, if you're trying to push super high ranks, a 42-inch screen is probably not the one to pick because you're going to be moving your head around just to see the corners of your screen, but it does a great job and I really can't complain. Simply put, regardless of what I'm using, as long as I can ruin somebody's day in Overwatch, that will bring me joy. And straight up, since this is a TV, you will be getting some of the best possible speakers when it comes down to gaming media. You don't always have to throw on a headset, and you don't always have to use an external set of speakers, since the built-in speakers on this TV are simply some of the best you can get for anything built right into a display. But, and there's always a but when it comes down to a TV or a monitor or whatever else, in this case particularly, the biggest issue I see with the LG C4 is that the LG C3 still exists. In this case, right now at least, the LG C3 can often be found for a better discount at a lot of retailers. And I find unless you're gonna have these two side by side, you're really probably not gonna see a huge difference. Depending on who you are, you might notice the 144 hertz, but I think majority of people simply won't. And since the 42 and 48 inch models aren't any brighter than the previous model, again, that's another reason you could just go for the C3. The difference really comes if you're going to be getting the 55 inch and up, because that is going to be about 30% brighter, and that I can most definitely say is noticeable. I think it's always best to be able to turn down your brightness and be okay with it than really not having enough brightness to begin with, but that's just me. Now, is that extra brightness worth it to go with the LG C4? For a lot of people, honestly, it might be. Now, one of the things I can say is that a lot of these big box retailers that has these devices in stock, they typically have really good return policies. So you can always pick it up, try it, and if it doesn't work out for you, simply return it and swap it for the other one. If you got the space on your credit card, you can buy both and put them side by side and just return the one you don't care for. First off, Costco fizzy water, 10 out of 10. 0 calories, 10 out of 10. Now I want to talk about some of the absolute most random use cases for this TV that I find largely beneficial. The first thing for me is going to be the productivity aspect. Again, this TV is absolutely massive at 42 inches, and it pretty much gives you 4 1080p 144 hertz borderless OLED displays. With that, you have 4 displays that are absolutely gorgeous, sharp as hell, bright as hell, incredible colors all at the same time. in the most aesthetically pleasing way possible. So you don't have to have any sort of security guard setups going on in your living room or desk setup. With that, again, as a creator, I love editing on a display like this. Again, you got a big ass screen and my whole timeline just stretches right across. Editing on here, color grading on here, everything on here has been incredible when it comes to a productivity standpoint. Now, obviously, absolute no-brainer, like I talked about before, all the gaming aspect, PC gaming, console gaming on here is an absolute marvel. Simply everything looks good. But one of the random things that have come up for me are the times where I'm actually still trying to get shit done, but I gotta give one of my kids some attention. Again, having 4 displays like this, I typically just like to throw something up in the bottom left corner so that they can watch a cartoon or something, and I can still get some stuff done on the other 3 screens. Again, it's all on one display, but it's just one of those things that I've really grown to appreciate, and that is super niche to me. Still, it's badass, I love it, and I think somebody out there might also appreciate that. And apart from all of that I've talked about when it comes down to productivity and gaming and all that, this is still a TV, meaning it has all those apps you might want like Netflix, Prime, Apple TV, and all that stuff. And it just works well. The UI is minimalistic, it's simplistic, and shout out to LG, they let you turn off all those dumbass ads that are typically on the homepage. One of the things that I actually grew to like is the Magic Remote. I originally thought this was an absolute gimmick, but once you get used to the Harry Potter wand action, once you get used to all the Harry Potter action going on with this remote, you might grow to appreciate it as I have. So yeah, it's just an awesome TV, awesome monitor, awesome for gaming, awesome for productivity. I can't really find anything I don't like about it. And I've been using this over the entire weekend and it hasn't come up just yet. So with all that, this TV performs absolutely top notch. It looks sweet as hell, it's minimal, functional, speakers are dope, screen is sexy. So who is this thing for and what is the catch? Well, if I'm 1010% honest, unless you can somehow find the C4 for the same price as the C3, I don't quite think the C4, especially in the 42 or 48 inch models, really have anything to really go for, particularly unless you really want that 144 Hertz. Otherwise, again, there's more value going for the 55 inch and up if you are using this in a living room setup or something, because that brightness extra, I imagine, looks incredible. Again, not something I can test here, but just along with the way this looks, if it can get brighter, imagine that. With that, of course, this TV is straight up incredible. Just about anybody will see a massive benefit from having this in their setup, and that is the real honest truth. And full transparency, I probably won't be keeping this TV in my setup, mainly because I simply play way too many FPS games, and I do love to throw down my competitive and actually push ranks in games like Overwatch. So for that, I'm probably still gonna hop back on my 32 inch LG OLED, which can go up to 480 Hertz. But I might be putting this into another setup. That's a video for another day. But really, as one of those all-around displays, whether it's living room setup, desk setup, bedroom setup, gaming setup, whatever the hell it is, this is a dope-ass display, and it's sort of hard to find something to hate. But that's just me. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Talk to you next time.